Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for another live stream. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We've got Uncle Weezy back in the building, returning guest, fan favorite on the channel, the Pub Sports radio contributor, the chief statistics officer of the MMA Engine, man, the king of stats. What's going on, Uncle Weezy? We're talking UFC Vegas 76. How you feeling?
I'm feeling really good, man. It's a good card from a betting perspective, from a fan's perspective. They even found a great opponent for Blagoy Ivanov. This might be the most exciting Blagoy Ivanov fight we've ever seen, you know. And you go up and down the card, there's some interesting matchups here, some interesting prospects, some people making their debut. It's got a little bit of everything, and that main event, very compelling. So I'm looking forward to breaking down the fights with you, my man.
Yeah, man, middleweight main event again. And, of course, they're going to headline it with Sean Strickland, who seems to be their 5-round poster boy at this point. He takes on Magomedov, who is a scary guy, man, but he's a guy who's only been in the UFC 19 seconds at this point, already getting a ranked opponent in a headline spot. So that's pretty cool. But, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of newer names in the card where it looks like it's not a high-level card at first glance, but you look at some of these names, and it's like, okay, they're newer, but a lot of potential behind a lot of these athletes. So I'm looking forward to breaking into it with you. I've got 5 moneyline bets already, man. Looking to maybe pick your brain with the numbers and add some stats add some props that make sense along with your stats here. So, man, we can go into the chat real quick. We got our guy Dixon following the North Star all the way through the deserts to support the prophet, Uncle Weezy, Waziah, the Messiah himself. Man, what an entrance. How do you feel about that, Uncle Weezy?
Yeah, man, my man Dixon's always hanging out, dude. He's always watching the shows. He's a great supporter of the MMA content creators, so it's always good to have the real ones in here, like Daz Files, like Dixon, like Subhuman, like Vic, like Easy Picks and Bets. It's going to be a good night.
Daz Files off to the park for this one. Don't listen to the doubters. Nothing wrong with this card. Yeah, that's what we were just saying. This one's actually pretty exciting. Everything. I'm always an optimist, Weezy, with these cards. Whenever I, dive into the tape, and it's like, man, I put so much time into it. Now I got to see how it plays out. I'm usually even for this one that I think you were boycotting. You said a couple weeks ago. It's that Holly Holm, Bueno Silva one. Even that one, I'm sure by the end of the tape study, I'll be excited for that card. Even.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's fights. At the end of the day, it's fights. But I'm definitely taking that week off. 17 weeks in a row. This is a mental health week for Uncle Weezy on July 15th. That's what's going to happen.
Man, I look like Vicente Luque. That's without the hair. That's a handsome. Is he a handsome? Is he like up there with the handsome Nali Yang, the handsome Berna Jandaroba? Is Vicente Luque part of the?
He's not that kind of handsome. I think Luque's a decent looking dude. Verna Jandaroba, Nali Yang, there's some other handsome fighters that I like to use that term for,
If I did a weight cut, maybe I'd look more like Vicente Luque. When I'm down at like the Romanov versus Chase Sherman at weight, like that 240, that's when I look like Luque. I'm at Romanov versus Volkov at this point. My face is too round for that chiseled Vicente Luque jawline right now. What is up?
Like Chris Barnett weight right now, man.
Yeah, right. Where's that guy been? Is he they rolling him into the ring anytime soon?
I think he got hurt, man. I think he was supposed to fight somebody and then there was an injury, so we got to wait for him to come back.
Damn, Victor J. De Jesus, my guy, what's going on? Saying what's up to me and Weezy in the chat. Easy in the house, say what's good, what's up, Unc? Ryan Jordan, good to see you again. Bonfim about to show the world where he's at this weekend. Always grateful for the content. Always grateful to have you watching and supporting, man. I'm excited for one half of that Bonfim team from Brazil going in there and putting on a clinic this week. And he's got a tough opponent, too. Our guy, Effie from the Any Action Sportscast, saying, sorry, Kevin, but it's funny hat bet season. What's up, you guys? Yeah, talking about Kevin Lee taking on Renatus from, he's like Tartar or something, right? He's like part of that weird tribe out in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, it's I think it's in Russia actually, but it's a very there's not much there evidently. I don't know much about it, but yeah, that's where Fakrehtdinov is from. It's from the Tartar region, yes, of Russia, I believe.
And Rob Lawrence, the real GOAT. Thanks, Pat and Weezy, dude. Really good to see you, Rob Lawrence. We can dive into the first of these 12 fights on the card. Man, I'm just getting in the door. There's no cancellations, right? We're all set with 12 fights.
Yeah, it looks all good so far, man. Nobody's dropping out. It's good card.
Right. I mean, there's been enough shakeups on this one already, but we got Kutateladze taking on Elvis Brener. Georgia versus Brazil in this lightweight bout to kick off the night. And this is one of the bigger money lines of the night, too. We've got Guram Kutateladze coming in as a sizable -600 favorite, but plus 425 can be ahead on Elvis Brener, who's making his second walk to the cage after, probably getting the good side of a split decision. I'm not sure if he deserved that against Zubera Tokugov a few months ago, but dude, upon rewatching that fight, I could kind of see why they, if there's like a blind judge, I can see why he might have given that to Brener just because of the optics at the end. He did look like he was a little bit fresher. Zubera not giving his best effort there. And it was largely a striking battle, but Brener takes a lot of chances. One of these shoot-to-box Diego Lima guys with the blonde-haired Brazilian crew. And yeah, I mean, he's going to put the pressure on Guram. It's just, can Guram stay on his feet in this matchup, and can he counter-strike effectively? I think the answer is yes. I think he'll do that. But Brener seems like he's got some toughness to him. So this might see the scorecards, but I still think Guram, if there's one of these big favorites that ends up, losing on this card, I think it might be this fight, to be honest. Like, I could see Brener pulling off another one, but ultimately I think he needs to get this fight to the mat to succeed, and I don't see it happening. What do you think about like the overs and unders in this match and how Guram would get this done? Do you think it's inside the distance, or could he stretch it out to a decision?
God, this is such a stay away from me because it's a Guram Kutateladze fight. The guy fights once every 2 years, and you know what this guy is at this point. He's such a clean striker, so the line just keeps going and keeps going because it's really hard to win minutes off this dude on the feet. But he's not high volume. The guy's only attempting 10.13 distance strikes per minute at distance, so that's about 1.3 attempts below the average for the lightweight division. So, Kutateladze is low volume. He does have some power, obviously. He could land a knockdown or a knockout, but we've never seen Elvis Brener finish in his career. And he's a shoot box guy. And you know how these guys are, Pat. These guys, like, they hit each other in the head with hammers in that camp. Like they're bonkers. They walk forward. They walk through the fire. They'll take one or two to give one. And they're very confident in their durability, their toughness. I think this one goes to decision. My pick is Guram by decision, but when the line is, Zach Johnson said it's -960. I just saw -975. It just keeps going.
It's all
so like, hey, I'm not laying that. I'm not laying that on Guram. And to lay that kind of juice on somebody that shows up once every 2 years, things can go wrong, you guys. This guy could even be injured at this point. You really don't know. He's constantly battling injuries. So I would just stay away from this one. If you put a gun to my head and made me make a money line bet, I'd pick Brener just because, it's a big plus money number and it'll hurt a lot less if I lose. But I'm just staying far away from this one.
Yeah, and he's urgent to push the pace, as we've been saying. He seems durable so far. He's training with a good team. And as a big underdog, that's a lot of pluses in your column. Guram, like you said, there's so many layoffs. Like, this guy debuted against Gamrot in 2020. He's fought once since then. So many pullouts, so many injuries, so many. I would imagine it's tough for this guy to make the weight too, because he's a big guy. Always comes in completely shredded, washboard abs, like completely emaciated. So there's a candidate for not looking great on the scales. It's probably going to be this guy too. So, but hopefully he shows up. He's an exciting prospect.
Yeah. There's a lot of question marks on Kutateladze. I wouldn't lay the juice on him, but the reason the line is where it is, Patrick, is Guram's damn good.
Yeah, his striking looks pretty good. So we're on the same side of that one. But yeah, that over, because a lot of times, when you see a minus 1,000 favorite or whatever, like, you would expect that they buzzsaw through their opponent.
Yep.
Which would lead to the unders. So the unders over under 2.5 is still at like a pick 'em price tag, which I find interesting. So. I don't know. I agree with you with it going over, though, but it's a sketchy one to start off the night, man. You know how these first fights of the night usually set the tone for the rest of the card, so hopefully things go a little bit more predictable than last week. How'd you make out last week, Uncle Weezy?
Oh God, it was bad, Patrick. It was bad. Like, I started off the night down 4.65 units, and I was telling my people on Just the Tip, I turned the oven up to 450. I put a sign on my back that said "No funeral," and I was just about to put my head into the oven, right? And then my last two bets were I had the under 1.5 rounds for the Brendan Allen fight, and I had the Macy Barber finish only prop.
Okay,
so
great.
I got like 2.4 units back. So I wound up down like 2.1 units. It could have been way worse. I was on my way to a reverse sweep. It was a rough day, really weird day.
Dude, I was
But
just about there with you. Yeah, about the
yeah,
same.
just kind of felt lucky to only lose 2.1 units. It was one of those weeks, man.
For me, it was the saving grace is one, I didn't watch it live, so I didn't have to deal with that pain of watching, just seeing. But I was taking my grandmother out for her birthday. We were having like a brunch, and me and my girlfriend took her out, and I'm just looking at my phone every now and then, looking at the results. I'm like, is somebody trolling me? The Peak fight went to decision. The Brundage fight went to decision.
Yeah.
There's like 10 underdogs coming through all in a row. Like, what is going on here? Luckily, Randy Brown and Neil Magny came through and were reliable, at least somewhat. Even that Neil Magny fight was a split. So
that was a close one.
Yeah, if we were on our way to like, is this finally going to happen? It's going to be a reverse sweep on picks and on bets. So hopefully we got the variance out of the way, man.
Yeah, let's hope so, man, because I am picking a lot of favorites on this card, but I'm not laying. It's not like I'm running to the window to lay any juice,
Yeah, speaking of laying juice on this next card, man, I've got a pretty big plus money play and some odd theories about the heavyweight fight ahead of us. Alexander Romanov taking on Blagoy Ivanov. Very fun fight here, just in terms of the optics of the fight. What these guys are going to come on the scales on Friday. Alexander Romanov, a guy that's yo-yoing his weight around the past handful of fights. Will he be morbidly obese? Will he be, slightly less obese at like 245? Is he going to gas out after a minute, a round? Can he finish? Can he be the first man to finish Blagoy Ivanov by like strikes? I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this one, Weezy. It's a very interesting fight. Romanov could be so dominant, 10-8ing somebody in round one and then look pathetic come round two, round three. So where the money line is at now, it's actually kind of close on this one. It's minus 135 Romanov, Blagoy Ivanov plus 115. It's just such a contrast in styles because so far in the UFC, Ivanov has not been dangerous as a finisher at all. But Romanov is a guy who's dangerous for like the first 5 minutes of a fight. So you've got the unstoppable force versus the immovable object here. So where do you see this fight playing out? Do you see it going the distance? Do you see Romanov? Is this a case where we do have to watch the scales to see how we bet this one?
Yeah, you got to see what Romanov comes in looking like because there was some. I think Liam Picks Fights was talking about it prior to the Volkov fight for Romanov, and he was saying, I'm hearing that Romanov's gym where he lives is closed. Something happened, right? And he couldn't get a visa to come to the United States to train. So like the guy was not training for the last fight. So I would imagine after that performance, like that he's training again, but I kind of need to find that out because what happened last time was just a complete disaster, and it was a bit of an outlier. Romanov's a hell of a fighter, but like he came in like he had just gotten off the couch, and he's fighting Alexander fucking Volkov. You don't come in and not train for that guy. So very strange situation. What I did was when I saw that the finish only prop for Blagoy Ivanov was plus 200, I made a big bet on it. Because Blagoy is always trained over at AKA and worked with a lot of those Russian wrestlers. He's a former Sambo champion. His ground game is damn good. So I really don't think that Romanov is going to be finishing him. And if Romanov comes in looking like he did last time, and he goes out there and he tries to grapple Blagoy unsuccessfully for the first 5 minutes, Blagoy might get him out of there. He might finish him. And at plus 200, I went for 2.5 units, 2.5 units to win 5. And in my opinion, the most likely outcome is that this fight does go the distance. If a knife to the heart didn't finish Blagoy Ivanov, if Junior Dos Santos didn't finish him, if Tai Tuivasa didn't finish him, if Derek Lewis didn't finish him, if Augusto Sakai didn't finish him, if Marcos Rogerio de Lima didn't finish him, is Alexander Romanov going to finish this guy? No, he's not going to finish him. Maybe on the ground if it turns out that there's a big time levels thing, but that last performance by Romanov was absolutely awful. He ruined my night. I was about to be up like 10 units, and I had 2.5 units on his money line. and wound up, like crushing my night at the end. So, yeah,
I had gotten that one peaked at
Romanov.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm picking Romanov by decision because Blagoy just doesn't do much, and I think that he can win that first round probably by getting takedowns. But as the fight goes on, Romanov just doesn't have the cardio to do this for 3 rounds.
That's so scary backing this guy, isn't it? Like because you backed him in the last. I happened to be on the other side of that one. I took Volkov at that plus 142, and I regret not putting more money on that, dude. That was the easiest. Like, oh man, there's been times in the past. I think for the Juan Espino fight, I was still like on the Romanov train. Like, probably had him parlayed with something else. Dude, the fear of when he gasses out and you've got money on somebody like Romanov, that just you can see the fear in his eyes that his heart's going to seize up in round 3. Like, yeah, that's the worst thing in the world. I'm just playing a quarter unit on this one to go to an eighth of a unit to go to split, and I'm actually playing the draw on Bovada at plus 8,000. Just $12.50 on the draw to win a grand, because there's so many ways this could go to a draw. It's almost gone there before. He could get a 10-8 in round 1, Romanov. He could lose round 1, round 2. Could go to a draw. Just like my guy Dev the Dude is saying, there's going to be some fence grabbing going on, most likely when these heavyweights get picked up in the air and slammed down. Their instinct is to grab the fence. There's going to be low blows. We've seen how many fights now where Romanov is getting yam bagged early or late in the fight just to save some time and breathe. A lot of opportunities for this to be a really strange result, but man, I agree with you with the toughness of Ivanov, and we're always talking about the knife scenario with this guy, but what about Derek Lewis teeing off combinations on his chin and
him living to tell the story? He's not going down. You got to finish him via sub or on the ground.
You got to, man. Got to say what's up to my guy Shady in the building. What's going on, brother? And man, there's Effie saying I'd love to be a reporter. Like, so what the hell happened in your last fight? You talked about the training. I sent Brady right before the show started because he asked me to be on Best Bet this weekend. And I sent him, this is my preparation for Best Bet. And it was a video off of Romanov's Instagram of him. He dubbed a Bon Jovi song over like a training montage of him playing with like rubber bands. Like,
I saw that. He showed that on the show that I just got off of. Yeah, man. Yeah, he's doing band work, and I'm going to say, show me some fucking, tape of you wrestling, please. Because if you're not wrestling here, you're probably not winning this fight.
Yeah, man. What's up to Houdini Beats? This card does seem fire the more we get into it, especially this fight. Should be a really fun one to see how much wind Romanov's got left in him. Mark in the house saying Elvis Brener isn't that bad. Guram is too inactive and too inconsistent to be. Yeah, he should not be this big of a favorite. I agree with you. There's a lot of red flags in that one. I think Brener is a pretty tough guy. He's proven himself. So what is up, Tommy in the house, liking that draw play? Dude, how can you not, man? Eighth of a unit, $12.50 to win 1,000 at plus 8,000 on Bovada. Can't help myself, man. There's not many spots where like you feel all that confident in a draw happening, but this is one of those fights that has all of the elements for it. So I'm on the Ivanov side just as a pick, just because I can't trust that cardio, and it's the plus money side, but not getting on a money line for this one. And probably not for the next one either at featherweight. We got Joe Anderson Brito, the biggest favorite on this card, taking on the newcomer Weston Wilson. What are we at now? We're still around like that minus 1,100, minus 1,400 number for Joe Anderson Brito. Weston Wilson could be head around plus 800, the underdog. And what an odd guy, man. Weston Wilson, more of a grappler as far as his method of success. But he's got that, like, he's trying to copy the style of Wonderboy Thompson, who he trains with that bladed stance, light on his feet, the hands down, pressures forward with really no regard for his own defense striking wise. So that's not really a good strategy against Joe Anderson Brito, who starts very, very fast, and he's got really fast hand speed, big power. And he's been taken out to high level, decent level of competition, just choking out Lucas Alexander last time, destroying Andre Fili, who I rate pretty highly in like 40 seconds. So I feel like that fate is probably awaiting our guy Weston Wilson in his debut. So I'm thinking a round 1 finish for Joe Anderson Brito. I'm just not sure what method. But, we saw him, Ishihara knocked him out and he fell like a sack of potatoes to the mat. I feel like there might not even be time for a club and sub for Brito. I'll call it a knockout. Any way to play this one to get any sort of like value out of it with this big of a favorite, Weezy?
Prize Picks has an under 4 minutes prop. I'm going to be playing that.
Okay.
I made a joke on the show, is that 4 minutes or 4 seconds? Because if it's 4 seconds, I'm 50-50. You know, I mean, like, Brito's gonna murder this dude. I mean, this guy hits like he hits so hard. Did you see the Mariscal knockout?
Yeah, he steamrolled him. It was crazy. I did that. I saw that last week for the first or second time taping Chepe. Yeah, he destroyed him. That was so violent.
Do you remember what happened afterwards? You remember Chepe was out for like almost a minute, and then he woke up and he was just like going ballistic. He had no idea where he was. He was. I think he was crying too because he was knocked out so clean and so scary. You know, and Brito does this to a lot of dudes. He folds people, and you look at Weston Wilson. You know, I mean, this guy looks like he folds like a lawn chair. You know, I mean, if Ishihara is taking your head off, can you imagine? This guy's Wilson's head's gonna be on a pike somewhere in a Brazilian barbecue in a couple of weeks over at Brito's house.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, man, I mean, like first Joe Anderson Brito round 1. I mean, it's probably like minus 500.
It's close. It's not that far off. It's horrible, dude.
It's gross, but it's actually probably a parlay piece this week. I mean, if Weston Wilson lasted 5 minutes with this guy, I would be blown away, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, how would that even play out? It would have to be him having the perfect somehow, just slipping the punches well enough and somehow tying up Brito in some sort of grappling position. But Brito's a good grappler. He's strong, and especially in round 1, you know. The way that I would see Weston Wilson like winning this fight is, of course, he manages to survive somehow early. Brito slows down, but we've only seen Brito really slow down against like Bill Algiu, who also has a good gas tank, also gives resistance, you know, on the feet and on the mat. I just don't see that happening from. And how good is Weston Wilson's cardio? The guy's a pretty much 100% finisher himself, outside of a couple of decisions, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see many ways. Aside from like an injury, I don't see many ways for him to win this fight.
Yeah, I think that's somebody said it's a Joe Anderson Brito injury or it's a knee to the head of a grounded opponent. You know, like that's basically, gotcha. You know, it's the Dean Barry versus Mike Jackson. You know, that's Weston Wilson's win condition here.
Yeah, is there anything you like about the skill set from Weston Wilson? I do like his skinny arms getting under the neck of some of his opponents pretty quickly. He's got like that slender man BJJ game. If he can get it to if he can get the back of Brito somehow, but I just don't see it happening, man.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of Ruziboev a little bit. You know, a super tall and long dude for the division that kind of explodes in with their strikes and has a very active submission game. You know, but they're both not great either. You know, so I mean, like, there's a lot of similarities. I think they're both going to get their ass shaved. You know, I think they're both going to, you know, get finished inside the distance in the first round, probably. So, yeah, I could see like Brito round 1 and Hulky Ferreira round 1, like parlaying round props. It'd be a first in my career. But that's how confident I am that they actually hit.
It's not bad. I tried doing that last week with good old Trevor Peak and good old Justin Taffa, and they had completely different nights than that.
Yeah, man. I picked the over 4 minutes for Peak, and I had the over significant strikes for Peak because I know that Peak's so durable, and he's not a one-punch knockout guy. He really is kind of like, oh, this guy isn't going to fuck off for the entire fight, you know, and you find that out like in minute 6 or minute 7 a lot of the time in the Trevor Peak fight. So that's what I went with. But yeah, I also had him for the ass shaving of the week, so it shows what I know.
Man, Jenna Marie in the house. What is up, Jenna? How you doing? Good to see you in here. She is heavy on Brito, probably in her lineups on DraftKings, I assume. So, yeah, I know you were just doing a DFS show on Pub Sports. Anything? Are there like some of these big favorites? Are those must plays on DraftKings, or are there ones?
Yeah, I mean, like Brito is definitely in my cash lineup for sure, and I've got Ferreira in my cash lineup as well. You know, you got to find that one really cheap dog that you think can score well, and then get a couple mid-range people, and then like 3 favorites, and you know that's the way I went this week. But yeah, there's no way I'm leaving Brito out of my lineup when somebody's got, you know. When an under 1.5 rounds is sitting at minus 260, you know, you don't leave that dude out of your DraftKings lineup, man. It's very, very risky.
And the most important question from Headman Slug, Weezy, how long is your hair?
Yeah, it's, you mean, you can see it right there. It's about
Shoulder
shoulder
length.
length. That's where it's at right now. And
What's the longest you've gone? Is this the longest you've gone, or have you gone?
God, no. When I first started doing this, it was like it was probably 6 inches longer than this, and I was just always wearing it back, tying it back in a bun, so I'm trying to keep it at like shoulder length or above to look a little bit more presentable.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I can't relate to anymore. I used to have long hair, but it was just in a giant afro. It would just go straight up in a perfect circle. So
I love it, man. That's a great look.
Yeah, man. Zach Johnson, any odds for the under? DraftKings hasn't dropped like the specific props for this one just yet, but that is definitely a look, man. That's a scary proposition unless they give you a lot of plus money on that, but still. Let's see here. What else we got? We got Brady in the house saying, "Oi!" There we go. What's up, Brady? Good to see you in here, man. He'll be on the show next week as well for the pay-per-view, so can't wait to break into fights with him. But we can move on to the first women's MMA fight of the night, the debuting Ivana Petrovic taking on Luana Carolina at women's flyweight 125-pound bout, man. Undefeated debuting fighter, 6-0. She's a grappler. Petrovic is currently 6-0, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions, and Luana Carolina, the opposite side of this, man. She wants to keep it on the feet as a Muay Thai striker. Not the best, but she is 3-3 in the UFC and solid output on the feet, I would say, and she's a pretty good mover. Petrovic, man, her striking, I just don't find very refined yet. I know she's still, she is 29, so she should be kind of moving in the right direction of her career at this point, but she wants to clinch up and get this fight down to the mat, and then her striking looks great. On the ground, her elbows are devastating, and she advances positions while looking for that submission. So coming out of Aries FC as their champion, she did have like some champion rounds in. Like I think she ended her last fight in round 4. So she does have like some extended cardio, I would say. But man, where the money line is at, Uncle Weezy, this is the part that I'm a little bit concerned about. Like what, a -220 the last time I saw it for Ivana Petrovic. No UFC experience, never faced too much adversity so far, at least from what I've seen. And, I don't know, against somebody who's got 6 UFC tier performances, not bad on the feet. I got to lead on Carolina just as far as like where the value lies. I don't want anything to do with this from a betting perspective personally, but I think I would lead with Carolina to keep this on the feet for the majority of 2 rounds and do work there. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, Luana Carolina's got pretty good takedown defense. She's attempted 0 takedowns in the UFC, so you know what she wants to do. She wants to keep the fight standing. She wants to use her Muay Thai striking, win minutes like that. She's not really a knockout artist. And, she's not real clean or anything like that. There's a lot of arc on those punches, and it's, you don't have power anyway, so why not be clean? Why not be straight to the target? I'd like to see that more from her. Yeah, this one, there's, the one thing that you can't be doing as a serious gambler, Patrick, is laying -200 on women's favorites, period. They're cashing at like a 40% clip. It's something ridiculous since the beginning of the year. If you're laying juice on women's MMA, you are getting rinsed. So
you're saying women's favorites are cashing at 40%?
I'm talking about like -200 women's favorites that should be cashing at like 66% are cashing at like 40%. It's
gotcha.
You could just go down the list and name them from every damn card. We just saw it last week with Macy Barber, -200 favorite, Amanda Hebas. And you just go back week after week after week. You see it happening every damn week. This woman only has 6 fights. These wins are over some ladies with decent records. Aries is a decent European promotion. Petrovic, Croatian descent. She trains in Norway and lives in Norway. But yeah, I mean, like I see this fight really being 50-50. But if Petrovic can get the fight to the ground, she's pretty good on top. But Luana's big for the weight class, and I think that she's thick and she's strong. We've seen her, stop a lot of takedowns, especially in the Godinez fight. So, if you made me bet this fight, it would be the +185 money line on Luana Carolina, but I'm not touching this one with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, you mentioned the Luana Carolina takedown defense. Has she had to defend many takedowns, or has it been like a spot where it's just been a few attempts against her?
No, it's something in the 20s. Let me get the number here.
Okay.
It's a lot because
I
she's
remember Molly McCann, and then of course the last fight with Joanne Wood, a couple of takedowns she suffered there.
Yeah, so she's seen 27 takedown attempts in 6 fights. So she's seeing 5.52 takedown attempts per 15 minutes, which is 2.39 above the average. 74% takedown defense, and she wins 34% of the control time positions that she's in, despite the fact that she has 0 takedown attempts and her opponents have 27. So she's efficient. She's hard to win minutes off of, in the grappling exchanges.
Yeah, it's just trying to assess how good I see Petrovic's chances are of actually getting this into that realm. I don't think it's very good. I think Carolina moves pretty well, and at this number, like you said, it's probably dog or pass, but most likely a pass from both of us on this one. So excited to see, though, another undefeated women's flyweight come in here. And, man, there's so many, there's not many finishers with the striking in women's flyweight. So at least we're getting another grappler here to try to get some violence going. That's probably why they picked her to join the league, right?
Yeah. She's a good-looking young lady, and she's fairly well-rounded. Her striking's okay, but the grappling's pretty good. And, they're hurting for talent, Patrick. That's really what it is. Mandy Bohm is in this division. That's how they're hurting. Okay, they haven't even cut her yet, so Ivana Petrovic will be better than Mandy Bohm. We can say that.
Justin Villegas needs the Cigar and Paloma parlay, 1 pick fighter from each, enough to make me a decent cigar and 1 Paloma drink. Yeah, I'm going to write that down. We'll close with that. That's actually a good idea. I like that one, man. That sounds like a tasty combination. You got a Paloma. I know you were on the last show when the liquor store closed. You always
got a tequila, my friend, and out of tequila, no grapefruit juice in the house. It's water for me tonight, man. It's water and weed for your Uncle Weezy today.
Oh, that's no fun. Speaking of weed, here's Chronic Combat in the house. What's going on, guys? Love you guys. They were on last week. It's always a good time breaking it down with those two.
Oh yeah.
I think they had on our guy Blood Money MMA Bets. Our guy Cody, I think, was their guest this week. So I got to go back and rewatch that once we get off of here. But yeah, Sicky's saying Petrovic is actually decent on top. Yeah, she does transition well, and her elbows are nasty. So
agreed.
That's why I want to stay off this one, because if there is one moment where she does gain that dominant position on Carolina, I'd be in trouble with that underdog ticket. But all right, we can move right along to something slightly more UFC caliber at 145, though, an odd weight class to still be seeing fights. And Yana Santos taking on Carol Rosa. And I saw, who did I see in here saying, asking if this was worth betting on? Hedman Slug, is this worth betting on? I do have a bet on Carol Rosa in this one, Weezy. I like her at the number I got her at, which was minus 147. Just 1.47 units to win one in return, and that's all I'm going to wager on this one. I like Carol Rosa's skill sets, man. She's pretty well-rounded, good, solid output, except for her last fight was, I think, her lowest output to date against big Norma Dumont. But aside from that, man, against the regressing skill set of Yana Santos, I think this is a good spot for Rosa, even at 145, to mix it up, man. As long as she can stay off the cage and not get controlled there, I think she should be able to box up Santos and even land some takedowns here. What do you think about this fight and the money line here? And do you agree? Do you think Yana Santos is kind of she needs a good performance here, otherwise it might be the end of the road?
Yeah, we've talked about it for years, ever since the beginning of women's MMA. What happens after a woman has a baby and she's a professional fighter? And the answer to that is that they're never really as good as they were before they got pregnant. Plain and simple. I mean,
oh, come on, that's sexist, Weezy. Weezy, slow down. Can you slow down your toxic masculinity for 1 second, please? For God's sake. You have no grounds to talk here, Weezy.
That is true. That is true. I don't know what it's like to be pregnant, none of that stuff. But what I do know is that when you're a professional fighter, you need to be performing at the absolute highest level as an athlete. Being a mom is going to be difficult on you, especially when you're fighting at the highest level. And we just saw the performance against Holm was absolutely awful. And yes, this is a step down in competition. There's no question about that. But She got dog walked for the full 3 rounds. She got dog walked for the full 3 rounds in that fight. But she's been facing a very good level of competition. I think that's very important to note here. But we saw Ketlin Vieira control her for like 10 minutes of that fight. She still got the decision. She got the win against Julia Stolyarenko. She got knocked out by Aspen Ladd, knocked out by Aldana, lost by unanimous decision to Holm, and it looked like if Holm just stepped on the gas, she could have got a finish whenever she wanted. So I do believe that Carol Rosa is probably going to be the more likely fighter to get takedowns. She will be throwing more volume. Just worry a little bit about her striking defense. It's not good. 54% at range can be a little bit of a problem, but it's not like Yana Santos has ever even landed a knockdown in the UFC. So I'm leaning Rosa. I like Rosa to win by decision. She's really not a finisher at this level. But is my money going anywhere near it? And yeah, Yana Santos just got her ass shaved, and she's coming back in less than 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty wild.
It is, man. And what made me really go for this is like Carol Rosa was what? Like, I think she was a bigger favorite a little bit. Like I saw minus 180, minus 170, and then she dipped down to that minus 147 on Bet Online. So I grabbed her there. I'm like, this is enough for me, because I was even considering laying that minus one, because I think it should be lined around like minus 170, to be honest. I think that money line's about right. So to get a little bit of value on that implied line, and she's got a lot of the attributes, a lot of performances where she's going over 100 significant strikes if need be in some spots. So yeah, the featherweight thing does scare me a bit, but I know big Norma Dumont, she really reigns over that featherweight division. Carol Hill said I think that was kind of a tough test for just getting stapled to the cage for the majority of that one. So hopefully this one's a little bit easier. I think Yana Santos is so aggressive in round one as well, and I think she leaves a lot of openings in the feet to be countered. So yeah, I'm a dirty man, like Sicky said, for betting on this one, but hey, I think I think we're getting a little bit of value on Rosa here. So still 29 years old, still improving. And she hasn't shat out any babies yet, has she?
Not that I know of, man. I don't know if Denise Gomez is getting her pregnant.
Yeah. So I think that's a plus here.
Thank you very much.
All right, we can move along to a very exciting fight, and the implications of this next fight at welterweight are actually starting to realize how important this one is. Kevin Lee returns to the UFC, and he's taking on a young and upcoming prospect in Fakrehtdinov. Kevin Lee is a guy who was a pretty popular name, brushing the lower part of the rankings at 155. But we're looking at, what is that? That was like 7 years ago now, when he was taking out guys like Michael Chiesa, going in there against former champion RDA. The guy's got a lot of good skills, man. In his late 20s at the time, he was explosive striker with the wrestling to back it up, good cardio. But yeah, just inconsistent performances, and always a struggle to make 155 for Kevin Lee. But coming in here now at 170, he hasn't had the most success at welterweight. The last time we saw him in the UFC was against D-Rod, getting boxed up against a bigger man, and not really just having enough control time with the wrestling. So taking on Fakrehtdinov, a fellow wrestler, and that's pretty much all this guy does so far in the UFC. He's taken out Andreas Michailidis, your Greek brother, Weezy, pinning him to the mat for like 13 minutes, and then topping that performance against Brian Battle, like pinning him to the mat for about 14 minutes of that fight. So I just, at this price tag, like, it's almost tempting me to bet Kevin Lee, or at least, have some faith in his ability to pull off the upset here, because the guy's got better striking than Renat. His wrestling, I think, technique-wise, just the American style, I think it could probably rival Renat's wrestling. He could stay on his feet, or maybe even land some takedowns of his own. It's just the trust in Kevin Lee coming back into a second stint after that horrible performance against washed-up Diego Sanchez. That's what worries me here, but I don't know. Am I giving Kevin Lee too much credit, Weezy?
I mean, we're going to find out. We're going to find out, because there's a lot of people giving Renat Fakrehtdinov a lot of credit. And look, when you go back through this guy's record, he hasn't proven anything yet to me. Andreas Michailidis has about 3 minutes of cardio. Brian Battle is not a grappler. He has no takedown defense. He's got a pretty good get-up game, but he's got no takedown defense. So this is going to be the best wrestler that he's ever faced. But here's the thing. Fakrehtdinov, pre-UFC, entire career at 185. Kevin Lee, up until recently, a 55er. You know, so we've got a wrestling match here where one guy we've seen a lot more of recently, and what he's doing in the wrestling is almost impossible. I mean, literally almost impossible, Patrick. Check this out, right? Rinat, 12 takedowns, and he's got 100% takedown defense on 3 attempts against. He's getting his takedowns at a 63% clip. He's averaging 6 takedowns per 15 minutes on 9.5 attempts per 15 minutes. He's controlling his opponent. Take a guess. What percentage of control time Rinat Fakrehtdinov has?
Like 97.5% at least. Maybe
it's 90%. He has got 90.6% control time. He's had 30 minutes in the cage. Over 27 minutes of that, he's been controlling his opponents. And he's allowing 2.17% control time. So he's winning 97.6% of the control time positions that his fights are in. And his fights are in control time positions almost 93% of the time. That's dominance. That is complete fucking dominance. So Kevin Lee goes out there against Diego Sanchez and Eagle FC over about a year and 4 months ago, almost at this point, right? Tears his ACL in the first round, and then has to basically he has to get both of his knees reconstructed after that fight. Yes. So you see Kevin Lee very, very compromised there at 165 in that fight, which is his weight class. 165 is where he should be. 170, not much of a difference, but we'll see. And then, so now we've got him coming off of knee surgeries, almost 31 years old. And what we don't know is how the wrestling and the grappling, how is it going to translate at 170 for him? Because he couldn't take down Daniel Rodriguez and hold him down. And then you see Neil Magny get into this dude's back and choking him out in less than 60 seconds in the third round of when he fought Daniel Rodriguez. Beats him in the third round by submission. Makes it look kind of easy. So this is a show me spot for both of these guys. But Rinat is doing in the cage. Now, it may be against much lower level competition, but he's doing in the cage what we would hope to see Kevin Lee do in the cage. What he could barely do against Diego Sanchez the last time out, even though he was injured. So, you know, it's kind of a stay away for me, man. I think Rinat by decision at plus money, probably the way to go here. I saw that Rinat's money line was minus 175 earlier in the week, and that his decision prop was plus 175. And let me have the floor for just a second.
Yeah. Well,
my last max bet that I lost was a 5-unit bet on the under 2.5 rounds at minus 115 for Fakrehtdinov versus Mihalidis. Okay? Because Mihalidis had been finished in all of his losses, and it was all under 1.5. The guy's got 3 minutes of cardio, like I said. So if Rinat Fakrehtdinov can't finish Andreas Mihalidis, he's not finishing anybody. And the money line is minus 190, but Fakrehtdinov by points is plus 165. I would absolutely urge you to put 1 unit on plus 165 to win 1.65 units instead of laying 1.95 units to win 1 on Rinat's money line. I don't think he's finishing Kevin Lee unless Kevin Lee gets hurt.
I like that actually quite a bit. And I'm picking Rinat to win, but again, it's mostly off of just that narrative of Kevin Lee. But I think he is capable of the upset, but it's one of those spots where you're going to know probably in round 1. And I see, let's see here. Dixon talking about Kevin Lee has literally won every single round 1, the UFC fights he's been in, both wins and losses. Probably get a better live number on Rinat. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Kevin Lee at this point, we're going to see like kind of who he really is in his second stint after 14 months off at 170. Like, can he actually mount some offense with the striking, the takedown defense, takedown offense in round 1? I don't know if he's going to fade as the fight goes on, but that is an interesting point. And I saw Shady saying these stats are misleading. I know it's only 2 fights so far, and it's a lot of stats because it's all takedown and control time. Weezy and I are both totally in agreement with you that
absolutely,
not the best level competition so far, but still.
but still, that's nasty. Dude, if you're averaging over a 30-minute sample size, over 90% control time, I mean, you're doing your fucking job. So, yeah, big ups to Rinat Fakrehtdinov. He's performed really well in the cage. But, yeah, against Mihalidis, and those are two big asterisks next to those two performances there. But, yeah, I mean, it's – and Lee's the better grappler, in my opinion. I think, I mean, like, obviously – you know, Kevin Lee is much more likely to get to the back and find a finish in this fight.
Yeah. And Suki said he was taken down by RDA. Yeah, in a round 4, double-legged in a couple of spots there, submitted in round 4. But, yeah, RDA, again, well-rounded, has the striking to set some of these things up. And yeah, it's RDA, and he's got the strike. Like, Renat's got, like, with that giant right overhand, he swings like he's pitching a baseball.
Yeah.
That knocked out Eric Spicely. You know,
Eric Spicely, yeah. He
So,
totally deaded him, and then Rinat looked. Rinat was the most surprised guy in the entire place, man. I'm telling you.
No, and not only that, but he threw that same
punch.
He threw the same overhand at Eric Spicely and missed like 6 times, and then finally Eric's like, "All right, don't do that again now," and got knocked out.
That's hilarious.
And, funny hats prevail in this one most likely, but I do love that plus 165 decision prop. I think that's actually pretty good. So. Yeah, man, Tommy's saying UFC doing Khabib a favor. Lee was promised more fights in Eagle FC. Okay, well, look, man, I don't even know what they get paid over there, to be honest with you. But who is he going to fight?
And Eagle's on hiatus right now. I don't think they're doing events. So
no, they had a nice couple of events.
We're missing a lot of information. We are missing a lot of information. So that's why I think it's best to avoid this fight.
Even when Kevin Lee got cut, like, it was a weird situation too, because he tested positive for the old Adderall, and they gave him a suspension for that. And then he actually found out, I think somebody interviewed him, that he was like released from the roster, and he's like, I didn't know this. And then he got like an email from corporate from the UFC that was like, you're done. That's the story he told years ago. But yeah, interesting. So, we can move right on along to, but I am excited to see Kevin Lee back. It's not often that guys like this get 2 primes. Maybe he can be one of those guys, but we're getting the middleweight bout between Bruno Ferreira, hard-hitting, undefeated 10-0 Brazilian, as he welcomes a debuting Nursultan Ruziboev to the UFC. European grappler, a guy with, at 29 years old, he's got like 46 pro fights already with a pretty shiny record. Most of them being finishes, most of them by submission. But digging into this one, man, it looked very sketchy the way that you're like, okay, fight number 1 with Ruziboev. Let's see some of these recent finishes. And it's him getting taken down and then it just cranking on the shoulder lightly of his opponent. And they tap immediately, you know, and then you keep on going through his record and it's arm bars off of his back. It's even some of the better opponents, like he's like getting slam KOs to get his way out of a triangle choke. I mean, it's just stuff that I don't think is going to be successful at like a high clip against guys like Bruno Ferreira at 185. So the striking of Ruziboev, I mean, I'm not too impressed either. He uses those long striking weapons. He is 6'4" at 185 and has some decent kicks to maintain distance. But I think Bruno Ferreira can close the distance. The guy looks very capable with his switch stance style that confused Rodriguez last time. Rodriguez thought he was just out of range and he had figured him out, and he caught a straight left one-hit KO in round 1 for Ferreira's debut over RoboCop Rodriguez. Impressive stuff, man. And for a guy like Ruziboev, who I'm telling you, look at the tape of this guy. He's letting people take him down to work jiu-jitsu off his back. That's Ferreira's world. He loves picking up guys and slamming him. He's got a judo background, and he loves the ground and pound once he gets fights to the mat. So, man, I went into the tape expecting, probably not to have a money on this fight, but I'm taking Ferreira on the money line. I got him at minus 168 for a unit and a half, and maybe I'll find another half of a unit to put on him inside the distance somehow here. What do you like about this fight, Uncle Weezy? I know you spoke about Ferreira pretty highly before we got on stream.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with this dude. I mean, he's built like a refrigerator. He's the guy in the UFC that looks the most like Patrick. Let's just face it. I mean, like, this guy is as deep as he is wide.
He's jacked.
He's gigantic. I mean, and when he touches people, Patrick, they just fold, He's got real power in his hands. And when you see dudes that are built like that, you don't expect them to be really flexible on the ground. And then you see this guy on the ground. He's fantastic. Like, he can scramble. You see him finishing fights with a triangle armbar off of his back. His BJJ is really solid. And with Ruziboev, I was watching the fights on this guy, and he's one of those guys that looks really good on tape because he's huge. He's super long and tall for the division, 6'4", really long reach. And then he's getting these kimuras, and he's getting these triangles, and he's getting these arm bars. But while you're watching it, you're saying to yourself, these opponents are obviously terrible, and the promotions that he's fighting in are super low-level promotions. And if you're serious about getting into the UFC and you're trying to make your debut, one of the biggest things that I'm going to look for if I'm going to be fading you is if it looks like you're out there padding your record, because why wouldn't you want to test yourself at the highest level on the regional scene before getting to the UFC? Wouldn't you really want to be honest with yourself about whether you're ready for this level? The consequences of not being ready for this level are very bad for your health, Patrick. So like when I see guys like Ihor Pereira or Dennis Bondar, and they're fighting the same guy twice, 3 different times in their career, and they're 18-4, and it's like, really, you want to get into the UFC and you don't want to take any tough fights? You want to avoid anybody with a pulse? You fight Gennady,
or at least make some money too. Like some of these bigger promotions, I'm sure at least pay a few more shekels overseas than wherever the hell he's been fighting. Like, he's got a few sprinkled ones like ACB and Fight Night Global and a couple, but most of the time he's in these weird promotions like you're talking about. I can't imagine they're paying him very much money.
Yeah, it's weird, So I mean, this guy is clearly not fighting good guys, and that's on purpose. And now he's here. So now he kind of like he cut the line. He decided not to fight any fighters with a pulse. And I've heard people say this week that some of those wins, the recent ones especially, that they're calling them works. They're flat out calling them works. Jiu-jitsu guys being like, dude, either this guy that he beat has never even practiced armbar defense in his entire life, or that's a work. And I'm like, holy shit, that's when you hear people saying that, and then the guy's got 46 fights, I mean, like, maybe the reason you can pile up 46 fights in 9 years is because 30 of them aren't even real.
He found everybody with the rotator cuff problem, and was just like, all right, I'll take this guy.
Yeah, exactly. So that when I just even lock up the Kimura grip, you're tapping.
They even threatened it. They're like, no more surgeries. I'm done.
So I mean, like, I think we're actually done here, because I think here's my prediction. I think Bruno Ferreira is going to shave this dude's ass. He's going to absolutely destroy him. And I think what's going to happen is that he's going to throw him through the canvas, making a hole that can't be patched in time to save the rest of the event. This is going to be your main event. And Bruno Ferreira is going to win the last fight of the night. And he's going to absolutely break Nursultan Rozaboyev's back by absolutely putting him through the canvas in the first round here.
Just like Tommy was saying with that slam KO of Ibrahim Mane from Aries FC.
Yeah,
in Brave. There was just a couple of opponents I found. That guy was one of them where like that guy's actually doing well in Aries FC right now. That was like a legitimate opponent, but even that, they traded back and forth Kimura attempts on the mat for a couple minutes. And then Nursultan got himself caught in a triangle and had to slam his way out of it. And luckily he pulled it off. Even he seemed shocked by that one. So yeah, man, I don't know. I think we're on the same page of this one. I'm sorry. Did you say you have any action on this one?
Actually not yet, but Bruno Ferreira is going to be like a prize picks play for the over on fantasy points. He's going to be, and I mean, he's definitely going into greasy 4-legger this week. He's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. I'm looking for innovative ways to play him at this point.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I might be looking for some sort of like DraftKings same game parlay to get some, because you're talking about a submission game is pretty good as well, which is true. I don't know if I want to pigeonhole myself with a knockout, even though that seems like that would be the obvious play. But with Ruziboev wanting to play jiu-jitsu a lot, maybe he gets himself reversed and caught in something by I could see even like a slam to the mat and like an arm triangle for Bruno Ferreira or something like that. So I might try to find a way where it's like a finish prop that's close to even money. What's up, 2 cents? He's just going to sit back and watch this car wreck. Not a bad idea, but yeah, we can move on. Again, we're going up to this is a very fun lightweight bout right here. Ismael Bonfim, another Brazilian prospect now in this next one, taking on Benoit Saint-Denis, the French grappler who's extremely tough, as we've seen back at UFC 267 when he got the crap beat out of him by Lipski dos Santos at 170. But since moving back to 155, Benoit's been pretty good, man, getting 2 finishes, one by knockout and one by submission. Not the best opponents, but still, he's doing his thing at 155, keeping that 100% finish rate alive. And he takes on Bonfim, who's a sizable favorite, like a minus 315 favorite at this point for Bonfim. And I think it's pretty well-deserved, Weezy. I mean, the guy's got skills everywhere. Been a professional for over a decade, even though he's only in his mid-20s himself. And dude, his counter-striking is nasty. Like the way I saw a lot from that Terrence McKinney fight back in January. Like we learned a lot when you unpack that 7.5 minute round 2 knockout. Like in round 1, he's countering with very good fundamental boxing, but then he sprinkles in those explosive techniques, but they're very well set up, well timed. He circles off the cage very well. His takedown defense is solid. So if Benoit Saint-Denis needs to get this fight to the mat, I don't see it happening at a high percentage. I think Bonfim is capable enough to stay defensively sound against what Saint-Denis got to offer, and I think he boxes him up on the feet. And I think he finally puts Benoit Saint-Denis out probably by round 2. The body work from Bonfim that might do the trick. What do you think about this fight in general, and where the money line is at? Is it a bit disrespectful to Benoit Saint-Denis, who's been so tough?
It is. It is a little bit disrespectful. But I mean, that's what happens. Look, I bet against both Bonfim brothers the last time out. I had Terrence McKinney as Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week over Ismael Bonfim because I thought that he was going to be able to wrestle him. And I even had a bet on Munir Lazez at like plus 165 to beat Gabriel Bonfim, which I thought was a good line, you know.
I was right there with you on both of those, dude. I was like, one of these guys will probably win in their debut. Not both of them, you know, and they both came through in flying colors.
Yeah, not only do they both win, but it was like, God damn, are these guys good? You know, they're really good. I mean, the Bonfim brothers they both have a really bright future. I'm very impressed with both of them. But with Benoit Saint-Denis, you know what you're going to get. 11.19 takedown attempts per 15 minutes. He gets 3.36. He's controlling his opponents 41% of the time, giving up about 8.8% control time. So Benoit is not going to box with him. You know, I mean, it's gonna be a greasy fight, and Benoit is going to be pressuring the entire time. And I don't think that Bonfim's going to get much of a chance to counter because I don't even think that Benoit is going to be throwing any punches. He's just going to be throwing takedown attempts, you know? So I think it's kind of the Benoit Saint-Denis money line is actually kind of interesting. If he can get a takedown or two and get to this dude's back, he can win a round or two here, you know? And Bonfim is not a one-punch knockout guy for the most part. And because he's such a talented counter striker, and because his boxing defense, Patrick, is impeccable. I mean, distance striking defense between the Abasov fight on DWCS and the McKinney fight approaches 80% at distance.
That's amazing.
You never see numbers like that. You never see anything above like 67, 68% in decent sample sizes. So I'm a big fan of Bonfim. And the great thing about him having that boxing background and being so crisp with his boxing is if you are a very talented and fundamentally sound boxer, means you have impeccable footwork. And impeccable footwork and movement is so important in being able to maintain range and stuff those takedown attempts. So, yeah, I'm going with Bonfim, but I'm going with Bonfim to win by decision. It was plus 325 earlier in the week on Bet Online, and I hesitated. Then I went to plus 275. Then I chalked up. I got a half unit bet ready. I went and I walked the dog, came back. It was plus 225. And then it opened at plus 200 on it opened at plus 200 on DraftKings. And I almost put my fist through the wall. But I wanted that plus 325 for Bonfim by decision. I think that's a great bet if you can find it anywhere else on any other book. But I'm going with Ismael Bonfim to win this fight by decision. I'm very impressed with him. But I also believe that Benoit Saint-Denis is going to make this a greasy fight. I think it goes over. I like the over 1.5 at minus 175 as a potential parlay piece this week.
I like this one quite a bit, man. I haven't done anything myself betting-wise with Bonfim, but I like it. And 2 cents in here saying, yeah, Saint-Denis can win, but he's probably got to wrestle. Don't know if he can count on his chin alone. And fisticuffs with Ismail. And reminding us of that, man. Dixon thing.
Don't do
Shout
it.
Shout out to Vyacheslav Kislyev. That guy was, man, what an amazing referee. He refs fights like I would ref a fight. Like, let's give them as many chances as possible, I didn't see anything, I didn't hear no bell. Keep going. Amazing. That was such an amazing performance.
I had the under 2.5 in that fight, and I was on the Pub Sports live stream watch along. You could, if you go find that on Pub
I gotta
Sports
go back
Radio,
and watch that.
You can watch Uncle Weezy just lose his fucking mind. There's like 8 of us on screen, and everybody's kind of quiet, just being like, "What is happening? Why isn't the fight being stopped?" And I'm in the mic, just screaming, "Stop the fight!" Like my voice is up an octave or two. I'm like, "Stop the fight! What are you doing?" I lost my mind. It was crazy.
Oh, God. I remember watching that one because that was that daytime card around like Halloween of October 2021. I think it was UFC 267 overseas. Amazing, dude. I remember having mimosas with some friends over, just like, what is this? What is happening? This is amazing. This is amazing. Because like the ref wasn't like, he was totally in the wrong for what happened. But like at the same time, as soon as, the commentary team was yelling, stop the fight, then like Benoit Saint-Denis would like attempt to take that. He was like, well, see, that's why I'm not stopping it. He's doing stuff. It's an amazing performance by Vyacheslav, man. They got to bring that guy back. Get the petition signed. Amazing. We would make so much money on the overs, Weezy, if we just hired that guy in Vegas.
Bring back Kisiev.
Amazing. But yeah, we're both on Gabriel pretty confidently. But man, that money line, might want to find a prop here. I like that decision one that you brought up for Bonfim. But man, I got a feeling he could probably finish this guy. We could.
Potentially, but Benoit Saint-Denis very durable, as we saw in that. He's a special forces guy, very durable. So,
but for the French, though, Weezy,
Yeah, it's still special forces. That dude would murder me with his bare hands.
How special are those forces over there? Come on, let's be real about this. All right, we can move right along to another women's flyweight bout. Ariane Lipski taking on Melissa Gatto. A little bit of Brazil on Brazil violence here. Isn't Lipski like Polish though? She's like a Polish-born like. Brazilian.
Well, it's definitely a Polish name, but I think she's Brazilian-born. But she was fighting in KSW. That's where she did her regional scene work. So I'm sure she speaks Polish, or maybe she's half Polish or something like that.
Yeah, but we got the striker and Ariane Lipski, Muay Thai fighter. Like Weezy said, she was the KSW strawweight champion. Had mixed success in the UFC so far, going 4-5. But Melissa Gatto, pretty inactive in the UFC so far. She is primarily a grappler, and her striking has improved somewhat, to being like serviceable, I would say, enough to like distract people from the fact that she does want to get this fight down to the mat. But her striking is still a very big work in progress. But now being off for a little over a year now, maybe that will be the next part of her game. Maybe she's improved her wrestling a bit to get the fight to the mat where she wants it. Maybe her striking is a little bit better. But it better be against Ariane Lipski, who looks decent. She's just not very durable. Lipski is my issue with her. But coming off of one of those big upsets in upsetting a big women's MMA favorite this year, JJ Aldrich got beaten by Ariane Lipski, like doubled up on strikes. All of her takedown attempts were stuffed by Ariane Lipski. Very good performances, like a plus 250 or more underdog there for Lipski. So I'm staying off of this. Like I am slightly edging Gatto to win somehow, like get the back control, get this fight down to the mat. And if she gets it there, I think Lipski will probably just give up the rest of the round and maybe get submitted here. But man, if Melissa Gatto can't get those takedowns as such a, what is she now? She's a pretty solid favorite, like a minus 230 favorite. That's a lot to pay, expecting her to get the takedown, at least in 2 of these rounds and do solid work on Lipski, who could probably pull off another underdog spot here. So picking Gatto, but staying away from this fight from a betting perspective. Do you have any action on this fight, Weezy?
I don't. I just don't. I mean, if I'm laying minus 200 to minus 250 on a women's underdog, it just means I'm like ridiculous, like a beyond 100% confident. I don't do that. And Gatto is on over a 1 year layoff here, almost 2 months, 1 year and 2 months away from the cage. So I don't know if she's been recovering from some injuries. It would be weird to take that time off when you're 27 years old and you're 2-1 in the UFC and you've finished both of your wins, and then had a very close fight with, in my opinion, a top 5 flyweight in Tracy Cortez, who just doesn't fight enough either. She got injured. I think she might have torn her ACL, so she's had to take an entire year off as well. But Ariane Lipski is not Tracy Cortez when it comes to the wrestling, and we've seen Melissa Gatto look very good in the grappling exchanges so far, and the striking's there too. The striking seems to be improving by leaps and bounds. And the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the aggressiveness there, it was always there. So I think Melissa's very aggressive wherever the fight goes, very dangerous wherever the fight goes. But with Lipski, we definitely saw an improvement against JJ, a big improvement. And she's training with Amanda Nunes now. She's not at ATT anymore. She's over at Lioness Studios working with Nunes. And potentially, Ariane Lipski is still only 29 years old, so she's young too. She's kind of a prospect as well. She's got good Muay Thai striking already, but she starts keeping fights on the feet. She can win minutes. She can win fights. She's got a little bit of grappling as well, but Melissa Gatto is going to be the much more dangerous grappler, wrestler, control time winner in this spot. So I'm on Gatto. I think Gatto wins this fight, but I think that Ariane Lipski at the price might be worth a look. And I think the Gatto line is just going to keep going, to be honest with you. So at some point, whether it gets to plus 200, plus 225 for Lipski, might be worth a little sprinkle, maybe an underdog parlay or something, something like that. But
yeah, it's always scary when you have these big favorites and people are parlaying them up, and it's like it's all contingent on them getting that takedown. And then you've got somebody like, she might pull a JJ Aldrich where she's like, all right, I tried for you guys 12 times and nothing stuck, so I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Dixon, giving us the bio on Lipski, born in Curitiba, Brazil, with Polish heritage. Her grandfather migrated to Brazil before the Second World War for security reasons. I hope that's on her Wikipedia. Did you just creep on Ancestry.com? Did you pull it up? You pull up the Lipski file real fast? You do some heavy research there, Dixon? And then you should do some on this. Is Uncle Weezy Couch Warrior's dad?
Well, you never know, man. If his mom went to Northern Illinois University between the years of 1992 and 1998, when I was constantly on drugs and partying until late at night, I mean, I guess you just never know, man. I don't have any kids that I know about.
Oh, man. Have Dixon pull up the next paragraph is like the bio is like, Uncle Weezy fled the New York area, leaving his bastard son during the Second World War. Due to the tequila shortage, he migrated to the Chicago area, leaving behind a young couch warrior.
That's hilarious.
You're leaving him the Viking horns. You're like, son, if I return, hold these for me.
I am a quarter Danish, so I've got a little Viking in me.
Hey, you might want to go back and reconnect with your bastard son, man. He just graduated law school. Now that he's made something of himself, you go back and say, hey, son, I was busy, but I'm back now.
No son of mine's going to be a lawyer. Yeah.
All right, we can move on. We're on the same side of this Gatto situation here. It's risky with the money line, but we're picking her to win. We can move on to a fight I'm very excited for at welterweight. Max Griffin taking on Michael Morales. Very fun old versus young matchup here. Max Griffin been in the league, man, 14 times, going a perfect even 7-7. Just a respectable middle of the road UFC record for this guy. He's pretty well rounded everywhere, striking decent, wrestling decent, but nothing is sticking out that much as being super impressive, other than maybe his durability. But Michael Morales, dude, this guy's a young prodigy right now. A lot of genetic gifts. 6 foot tall with a long reach at 170, and he's 14-0 with mostly I think all but two are finishes here. So a lot of knockouts. One of these clean, long strikers that switches stances effortlessly, power behind his punches. I mean, just really patient too for a young guy. I like his skill set. He's got wrestling to back up his striking weapons too. So I'm on Michael Morales here, 2.5 units. I got him at minus 220 currently. I think minus 250. Max Griffin sitting right around that plus 210 underdog spot here. And I think he's a popular dog this week because, you're taking on a guy who may or may not have had a lot of adversity in Michael Morales. Max Griffin's seen a large variety of opponents, and his resume looks good. But, dude, he's been facing a lot of these guys that are bolstering his resume with name value like towards the end of their careers and still not really putting them away at that high of a clip. So I don't see Max Griffin striking with Michael Morales for 3 rounds and doing very well, and I don't see him taking down Morales either. So I think Morales kind of has this fight covered. I'm not sure where the ceiling for Morales is in total, but I think it's good enough to beat somebody like a generalist like Max Griffin. So putting some stock behind him, paying some chalk at minus 220 on Morales. I got a lot of confidence in him, man. He doesn't have like a lot of these red flags that I normally see from young guys that are undefeated. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about Morales and where his future lies?
Yeah, I mean, you can't teach height. You can't teach reach. You can't teach genetic gifts. Both of his parents, black belts, own a gym. You grow up in that kind of environment. And, that can mean you could be great even if you're not athletic, growing up in that kind of an environment. But this kid is clearly, he's clearly special. Ecuadorian wrestling team as well. You love to hear things like that. I mean, obviously, you don't think of Ecuador when you think of, dominant countries for wrestling, but hey, this guy's competing at a high level in his country in freestyle wrestling. So he's a very, very he's a prospect that's got a ton of upside, very high ceiling. He's still only 24 years old. I mean, this kid is going to get a lot better as he gets better coaching, as he kind of figures out who he is as a mixed martial artist. I've been saying it all week. The Veretennikov fight was such a good look for him because it wasn't the plan to go in there and wrestle. But he has that in his toolbox at a very young age, and he also had the sense to know when to use it, right? You see guys like Jamal Emmers, 33 years old, all the gifts in the world, but you look at his record and you're like, how the hell have you lost so many fights? It's because he doesn't know when to do what. He doesn't know when to use the tools that he clearly has. Michael has shown the ability to be able to do that. This is going to be a tough fight for Michael. Max Griffin is a generalist, but what he's generally doing is outperforming the division in literally every imaginable category. What Morales is doing is winning minutes, doing a pretty good job of it, right? 7.15 significant strikes landed per minute, only 4.72 absorbed. So a really good differential there. But, he's only attempted 2 takedowns and his opponents have attempted 12. So his opponents are really trying to grapple him. He's winning about 30% of the control time positions. And that's not bad when you're only getting, 1 out of the 7, 1/7 of the takedown attempts, so you're being kind of efficient. But, like Griffin is 50% on his takedown accuracy, 71% on his takedown defense. His opponents have attempted 7 more takedowns than he has, but he outcontrols his opponents. He outlands his opponents. He's got 8 knockdowns in 14 fights, so he's got power. He can flash power that can end fights as well as having a positive 0.59 distance striking differential against guys that have 120 wins and 84 losses as his UFC opponents, so he's fighting good guys. And he's been doing it for a very long time. So Max is not weak anywhere. The last performance against Tim Means didn't look good, but he broke his hand in the first round. He broke his power hand, his hand that he works with. So I think that performance, you have to take with a grain of salt. And I thought he beat Neil Magny. I had a bet on Neil Magny that day, And when the third round was over, I think I laid like minus 140 or minus 150 on Magny, and I was like, bad bet. Max Griffin
That was scary. We were lucky to get that one. It was I remember watching that the split screen of one judge has it one way, one judge has the other. Like, oh man, please, dear God, Magny, pull this one out.
Yeah, it's just Jesus, Allah, I love you all. It would just help me here, and it wound up cashing. But it was a bad bet. Max Griffin, really made Neil Magny, who is a great fighter, almost 30 UFC fights in his career. He's got over 20 wins. Max Griffin's in there with guys like that, being in real close fights with them. I think Morales still needs to show a better ability to be able to win minutes wherever the fight goes. And against Max Griffin, we're going to see that tested, Patrick, because if he can do that, if he can out-wrestle Max Griffin, if he can outland him at distance, if he can land the bigger shots, I'm going to be like, damn, because that's a good test for a 24-year-old kid. He's extremely young for the division. He's still undefeated. If he goes out there and has a clean win against Max Griffin, then I'm gonna be willing to say that Michael Morales probably will be top 10 someday in this division, and that's saying a lot in a division as deep as the welterweight division. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one turns out, but I'm not willing to lay the juice on Morales here. And the Griffin money line is actually a little bit interesting to me, but I'm probably just going to be staying away.
2 cents with the Morales Griffin ends in split at plus 500. Hopefully it's not that close, man. But for the sake of your bet, maybe it will be. Sicky and Tommy both liking Max in this spot, dude. I'm usually the guy that's like fading the young undefeated prospect. The first sign of like a gritty veteran at some plus money. I like those spots, but dude, I just feel like Morales is the guy at this point. Another 13, 14 months off to improve here. Hopefully he comes a little bit improved even more. So just to be a little bit more outstanding, outshine Max in some spot here. But like you said, he is very low output, and Max could pull away on the scorecards if he starts fast in round 1. So yeah, you've made me a little bit scared about this bet here, but still thinking Morales pulls this one off. Should be a fun fight though, man. We do need some fresh talent at welterweight for sure. Somebody that stands apart from the crowd. But yeah, moving right along to another sketchy fight that has all the narrative written all over it, man. Lightweight bout, co-main event, Ismagulov taking on Grant Dawson. 2 guys with really good skill sets, really good records. Demir just got his unbeaten streak. I think it was like 18 or 19 fights snapped at the hands of Arman Tsarukyan last year, which if you're going to take a loss at the lightweight division, that's not a bad guy to lose to in a decision. Grant Dawson still unbeaten in the UFC. He does have that one draw to Ricky Glenn. And you got the striking advantages all going to Ismagulov at this point. Grant Dawson, wrestle heavy game plan. Not very good striking in my opinion that much, but where this gets interesting is where the money line has gone, man. It's been like minus 160 or so at some point for Ismagulov, maybe more than that. Come all the way down to where he's the underdog technically as far as the price goes. And I almost bet the guy at minus 140 for Ismagulov. I just waited to see how far it would go. And I finally took 1.5 units on it at minus 108 a couple days ago. I like that spot for Ismagulov. But where it gets hairy is the narrative, man. He basically took to Instagram and put a bunch of Kazakhstani characters in there and claimed he was retired due to like some health problems, whatever. Maybe a knee-jerk reaction to him losing for the first time in a long time, but now he's coming back and he's calling people out in the lightweight division again like nothing happened. So not really sure about the preparation or like what to make of that. You never want to really bank on a guy whose head isn't 100% in the game, but I think that comes with the territory of these guys having social media access at all hours of the day and popping off after a loss. They should just get their phones taken away. But I like the skill set of Demir. I think his striking is super high level. And his takedown defense has been good. I mean, even against Arman Tsarukyan, defended most of those takedowns, made Tsarukyan work to hold him down. And we've seen Grant Dawson sort of have some cardio issues in some fights leading to that 10-8 that Ricky Glenn stole the draw over him. So Yeah, I mean, I like a guy who commits to the bit. I like Grant Dawson committing to the wrestling game plan. I think that's a good idea, especially in this fight. But I'm not convinced that at being an even, what is it, -110 across right now. I got to take the guy in Damir, who I think can stay on the feet and employ some boxing. So where are you at on this fight, man? Do you have any action on this fight? And what do you make of the narrative surrounding Damir? Is that really what's driving this line down?
Yeah, he did retire, and then when he took this fight, he said, "I've got one fight left on the contract, so I want to fight out the contract." So then now he shows up at media day today, and he says, "Okay, it was family problems, whatever." I can't take anything good from that, right? I mean, either he's lying, and I mean, like, look, if he's injured, he's gonna come to media day and say, no, it was just family problems, and he's gonna start calling out other fighters down the road. But if Grant Dawson takes his back in the first, and then he takes his back in the second, and then he takes him down in the third round, and he gets to his back again, I think he's gonna probably knock him out or sub him. Grant Dawson does the same shit every fucking fight, and it's gonna be up to Damir to stop it. But the thing is that, like, the Grant Dawson that we've seen most of his career is the glory version of Grant Dawson. Now he's the American Top Team version of Grant Dawson. And another narrative here is that Damir Ismagulov has always finished his camps at American Top Team. And now Grant Dawson is there, and he's not finishing his camp there. He's finishing it at Syndicate. And it is not a good camp. It's like one of the worst gyms that there is. Like, when I see someone from Syndicate, I'm like, wow, that guy's probably going to lose. Or that
Who have they had recently?
Who's
part of their decline recently? Who's the fighter that's gone?
Well, I mean, I think of Joanne Wood, of course, but she did have that nice win over Luana, Carolina.
Yeah, right.
In a very close fight. But it's all of them over there. I mean, I think Jordan Levitt's there, and he actually looked pretty good this last fight out. Let me see. Well, I mean, I bet on him and I cashed on him.
Yeah.
You'd have to go on Tapology and look at the list.
Maybe that's how unrelevant they are, because I don't hear much about that gym anymore as far as people that are doing good things. So,
it's interesting that he's going to be at a different camp. It's interesting that he retired. But here's the thing. Arman Tsarukyan got to Damir Ismagulov's back in all 3 rounds of that fight. Yeah. Dude, I mean, like, Grant Dawson's back takes are as good as anybody in the lightweight division. This guy that's exactly what he does to everybody. He's been doing it since he was 24, 23. It's always been the same game plan for Grant Dawson. And Grant Dawson is 19-1-1. Okay? 19-1-1 in his career. So he's very good at what he does. 61% control time over the entire sample size of his UFC career, which is longer than Damir Ismagulov's. At 100 minutes, he's got over 61 minutes of control time. He is 33% on his takedowns. He's attempted 77 takedowns in 100 minutes. And remember, he's been in control time positions for 61% of that, controlling his opponent, being controlled almost 9% of the time. So only 30% of Grant Dawson's fights have been taking place at distance striking range, which is where Damir does his best work. Right. So this is going to be a styles make fights thing. Is Damir Ismagulov going to be able to keep this fight at distance striking range, or is Grant Dawson going to set the pace of this fight by wrestling early and often, and then the takedown isn't always the plan. It's just getting to your back. So there's a number of different ways that you can do that without even getting a takedown. We saw Tsarukyan do it in all 3 rounds against Damir. And we're going to find out if Damir's back injury is something that he's just not talking about, because there's a very good chance that a man that retired on New Year's Day might still be injured and taking this fight for a paycheck.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of good points. Like, I'm impressed with, and like I said, I like a guy who commits to the bit, commits to the grindy wrestling approach. And I think you're right. It's whoever sets the pace early in round 1. Is Damir going to show that he can shrug off a bunch of takedowns from Grant Dawson? and then make him pay for it with, knees in the clinch, maybe a couple of boxing combinations on the way out of that takedown attempt? Or is Grant Dawson going to put the pressure on him and break his will with keeping him on his back for the majority of round one? I think that really is going to be the determining factor of how this goes, is that early part of the fight. But yeah, man, I'm still siding on Damir at the money line. If he was like a more massive favorite, then I'd probably be on the Dawson side. But man, probably the more dangerous guy is Dawson, at least, all of this advancing position, getting the back. He's a round 3 finishing king at this point, over some of these guys. I remember cashing that Leonardo Santos round 3 Grant Dawson.
Me too.
The last second.
I was walking out of the room and I heard the announcers go, "Whoa!" I'm like, I came running back in. I'm like,
it was amazing.
Kidding me.
So I might
1,400, I think.
Yeah, I might have some fight ends in round 3 or some Grant round 3. I know. I just saw 2 cents saying Dawson by submission. I assume that'll happen in round 3 if he grinds him down. Just keep the theme going. But yeah, who else? Justin was in here talking about the eye twitches. Yeah, I mean, he does. I think he had some interview. I saw some translated interview. You never know how these things translate when they're in Kazakh, whatever the hell this guy speaks. Yeah. But something might be lost in translation. I think he either has like Tourette's or something, or like some sort of weird affliction when stress happens. He was saying in an interview that it happens in the middle of a fight when he's like undergoing a lot of stress, whether it's cardio or just focusing. It starts to get worse as the fight goes on, all the way to the point where then DC interviews him, and DC's like, "Why is this guy coming on to me, winking at me? Like, what's going on with this?" I saw DC give him a look at one point. He was interviewing him, and you saw Damir look at him, try to answer the question. He just winked at him, and you see Daniel Cormier be like, "What are you doing right now? Are you coming on to me? You see something you like, Damir?"
Oh my God, DC, dude, yeah, DC's the best. I'm a big DC fan.
Yeah, he's funny. He's definitely one. During the whole time of him fighting, I didn't care for him that much until I did enjoy when he beat Stipe. That was a cool moment for him. But when was it? It was like when he was fighting John Jones the first time. It was just, he just seemed like a really corny dude. But now, and he's funnier now that he's in retirement because he's so goofy that it was hard to get behind him trying to beat John Jones. He just didn't seem like the guy. But now that he's looking at the career in the rear view, he's a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
I like him on commentary. He's goofy, but let's see here. Oh, asking, what's the real reason the Kazakh Casanova blinks, Weezy?
Oh yeah, he's the Kazakh Casanova. He's winking to all these ladies in the audience, dude. That's what he's doing. Like, he's actually got 2 things going on. He's got a fight going on, and then he's got he's making the plans for after the fight. Who's going to come up to the hotel room.
He's just prowling the crowd for pussy, just not even focused on listening to the translator in the post fight. And man, that's the guy I want to back. I'm right here with Sicky. Sicky's 3 units deep at -110, very good price. Like I said, I'm a unit and a half at -108. So how's that for closing line value? Sicky beat you by 2 per. No, I was kidding. But,
in your face, Sicky.
All right. All of you guys in the chat, all 30 of you guys, thank you so much for joining us for this awesome card. We have 1 fight to go, but hit the like button. Make sure you check out the description. My guy, Uncle Weezy, is one of the best Patreons in the game. All of the stats that he pulls, the guy's a supercomputer. You can get access to all of that stuff to help you make decisions and make money, and that Patreon link is in the description. I highly recommend that, and make sure you follow his channel and the MMA Engine as well as we break into this 185 main event. Sean Strickland taking on Abus Magomedov. And like I said at the top, man, Abus Magomedov, a guy who was in the PFL, had success there in 2018. He's been highly inactive until he fought Dustin Stoltzfus and kicked him in the face and punched him a couple times. 19-second debut at UFC Paris last year, and then he's out the door. Very impressive debut, but that's all we've seen of the guy. Now he's headlining a potentially 5-round main event against Sean Strickland, who's towards the top of the division, very consistent. It's a hard fight to break down because I feel like we're missing a lot of information on Abus Magomedov. You can go off of his performances against high-level guys like Sadabusi in the PFL. He's a guy who I like his striking weapons. I like his power. I like his ability to switch stances and stay mobile. And then if things don't go his way in round 1, which they usually do, but he'll switch to a wrestling game plan in rounds 2 and rounds 3 and actually look pretty dominant there as well. So I like the guy's skill set. Sean Strickland, of course, you know what to expect. That's why he's sort of a gambler's delight, because he's going to go in there forward pressure, flat-footed, more technical boxing than I think he does get credit for. Like, he does set up traps pretty well and pull counters, when he can do so. But he's going to march right into the flames, right into the violence, and he's open to getting hit, as we've seen before. He can get cracked by good power strikers like Dos Santos, guys like Ferreira. And man, Weezy, maybe you've got some numbers to back this up, but looking at like, why am I always tempted to bet Sean Strickland by decision? I mean, for one, it's because he is consistent. He's high volume and got pretty decent cardio. But man, there's just not a lot of power hitters at 185 anymore. You know, like back in the day, there used to be quite a few. Now there's not so many guys that are finishing middleweight fights by strikes at the high level. But Abus Bayan definitely represents somebody that could bring that kind of a sniper-like threat to Sean Strickland. And I'm actually banking on him. I got a plus 145 ticket for just 1 unit on Abus. Just banking on the potential of this guy, the amount of avenues he can take this fight in, whether he has success wrestling or threatening with that or not, or whether he just hits Sean Strickland with something he walks directly into. I'm not so sure, but it's probably by finish, probably somewhat early if Abus wins. But I'm just banking just 1 unit on the potential of this guy. I do like what I see from him. But Sean Strickland, dude, he's going to be game to go in there for 15 rounds if necessary to outpoint his opponent. What side of this fight do you fall on, and what do you think of Abus getting this big step up in competition?
Yeah, I'm excited to see it, and I kind of get the feeling that Abus got this step up in competition because a lot of guys below Sean Strickland on the ladder just didn't pick up the phone. I don't think a lot of guys want to fight this guy right now. And I'm a stats guy, Patrick. Abus Magomedov landing 22.11 significant strikes per minute and absorbing 0.
Beautiful.
I mean,
beautiful.
At those numbers, you would have to say it's absolutely impossible that he's going to lose. Unfortunately, it's a 18-second sample size, I believe.
We're shady in here to say that those stats are skewed. I don't think they are.
Yeah, the stats are almost meaningless. But I mean, it was a very clean performance, and Abus has got a ton of power, and he's dangerous everywhere. He's a guy that's come out and said, look, I could wrestle. But I want fights to be exciting. So I don't want to just I want to stand and strike more. I want fights to be exciting, and and that's what Sean's going to do. Sean's going to keep the fight standing if he has to try to stop takedowns, and he's not going to attempt takedowns himself really. But what I've seen from Abus on tape, with the striking is he needs room to work. Sean doesn't give you room. This is going to be in a small cage, and Sean walks dudes down, and he's very good at it. He keeps his guard high, and his punches are straight to the target. They get there quickly, and he stays behind that jab. He's very good with his boxing, but it's the pressure. The pressure is very key. The bet that I have on this fight is the under 3.5 rounds at plus 120. Let me look at my prop template here and just get the number for you guys here. In the middleweight weight class, there have been 64 fights. 36 of them have went under 3.5 rounds that have been scheduled for 5 rounds. So 64 5-round middleweight fights, 36 of them have went under 3.5 rounds. That's 56.25% of the time, right? We're getting plus 120, which is a 45% implied probability. So there's an 11% divergence there between the price of the line and the actual finish rate of middleweights in 5-round fights. The other big piece of information there is that Magomedov has been scheduled for 5 rounds 5 times in his career. All 5 of those fights finished in the very first round. This guy has never seen a 4th round in his career. If he's not wrestling early and often against Sean Strickland, the pace that Strickland puts on, I see this fight finishing. I could see Sean Strickland getting a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th round knockout. I could see Abus getting an early knockout because he's got a ton of power, and man, does he hit hard. So, I mean, I see the power differential there for Abus, but obviously experience is a big thing. And let's not forget, the last event of 2022 was a 5-round fight between Strickland and Cannonier. The first main event in January of 2023 was a 5-round fight between Nasruddin Imavov and who? Sean Strickland, who got off the couch to fight 5 fucking rounds on short notice. So we've never seen Abus Magomedov in a 5-round fight where he's gotten out of the third round, never even been out of the first, but he's fought 3 rounds, obviously, plenty of times before. There's a lot of reasons to like Sean Strickland here. The pressure, the volume, the good defensive boxing, the good takedown defense, the 5-round experience, and you know that he can just do that all day long. All this guy does is fight. So I think as the fight goes on, Sean Strickland's going to take over this fight. I'm thinking Sean Strickland by 4th round knockout, and I've got 1 unit on the under 3.5 rounds at plus 120.
I like it because I agree. I mean, the unknowns, like you can't just assume that Strickland's going to just always get the decision. I mean, maybe you can, but there's a spot where I think there's question marks in a lot of things with Abus right now. You know, can he go? His cardio doesn't look that elite, but it doesn't look like a problem to me either. But yeah, he could easily fall apart as the fight goes into championship rounds and just succumb to that pressure. But dude, like Sean Strickland, I just find myself in a trap with Sean Strickland because I bet him so many times. I always expected to go to distance because I'm like, look, the guy's fairly durable. He's got good experience, a 5-round pace, high volume, doesn't slow down. But it's like, can I make that argument for like everybody in the middleweight division at the top against Sean? Like, why wouldn't Sean Strickland just walk through Israel Adesanya? He's more high volume than Adesanya. You know, he's going to pressure him against the cage. In a small octagon, he could probably pressure Adesanya and outpoint him over the course of 5 rounds. Like, when does that strategy like fall apart? You know,
when you're
what I mean? Like, I just
better technically than you.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with Abus right now. I just see more paths for him, so I'm willing to take the wager at a plus money number. I would never do it at chalk, you know, or even a pick 'em, but at this point, I'll try to risk that 1% wager, 1 unit on Abus for just the upside that maybe he brings something new to this division that has been lacking, like a power sniper threat for so long. Like even Adesanya, like he's got those weapons to do so, but every now and then he pulls out like a performance like he just did against Alex Ferreira. But the rest are decisions. Like what happened to the guys like Anderson Silva, Nate Marquardt, the guys like Chris Lieben, these finishers at middleweight. You know, like what happened to these guys? Everybody's like a point striker now. Even Jared Cannonier comes down from heavyweight and he's taking guys to decision. You know, I don't understand what's happening here at middleweight. Need a renaissance at this weight class. So maybe it's the hopefulness in me that hopes that maybe Abus can be one of these guys. Certainly doesn't strike me as like a championship level guy, but hopefully he can just insert himself into this top 15 and shake things up. But man, that is a 12-fight card, Weezy. We got it done. Got some good betting insight from you. Some notes I've taken as far as like, especially that Renat Fakrehtdinov big plus money by decision at plus 165. I might check that one out. Even the Bonfim decision, if you can find that somewhere. I do like that one. But yeah, we got to give our guy Justin Villegas that Paloma and cigar parlay, man. What's your parlay piece in this card?
Yeah, it's probably Bruno Ferreira, but I mean the line's getting away a little bit. Let's see, I'm gonna refresh the page because it said like minus 180, minus 190. Now it's like minus 220. He's gonna mow through this dude. Maybe just do like Bruno. What's Bruno Ferreira round 1?
I'm not quite sure. Let me see. Does DraftKings release these ones?
Oh
yet?
God, it's like plus 110, plus 125. That's terrible. We can do better than that. We can do way better than that. You go and you give your leg.
Man, I want to do something with Bruno. I knew you would choose him, man. I'm taking Michael Morales. I think I got a lot of faith in Morales as a parlay piece in this card, to be honest with you. Even though I'm playing him straight, I like Morales as a piece you could pair with Bruno Ferreira. But Bruno is one of my top confident guys on this card for sure. I don't think very highly of Ruziboev, so both of those spots I like quite a bit.
Okay, why don't I give let me see here. I'll give that under 3.5 rounds at plus money in the main event. I like that one a lot because, Abus is a finisher. The guy is an absolute finisher, and Sean Strickland has no concern for his own health. So I really do think that a live finish is an early finish for Abus is likely, but the fact that, he hasn't fought in almost a year, and now he's fighting Sean Strickland here. If there's any part of him that's not ready for 5 rounds, I think Sean's finishing him in the 3rd or 4th round.
So run that one more time for our guy Villegas. What's the price on that one?
That one should be about plus 120 right now. Let me look. The under 3.5 rounds is plus 120, anywhere from plus 110 to plus 125.
All right, so the under 3.5 in the main event at that price tag. Partly that with either Morales or Ferreira. Pick your poison there. Maybe do all three, Justin. I got.
Oh yeah, and I
confidence
love
in those.
Ferreira. Yeah, that's like free money for me.
That was the ass shaving of the week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, pretty good, man. Hopefully you can bum a cigar and a Paloma off of somebody, man. We got our guy Dale from Punchless MMA in the house, giving a thumbs up and saying good luck. Good to see you, Dale. It's been a while since we spoke, man. Just been busy. I got to check in with you, man. Maybe get some book recommendations as well. We'll talk shop in the DMs. We'll get you back on the stream as well. And what we got? Dixon with one last question for Weezy. How many significant strikes in average on 5-rounders do you know offhand for Strickland?
Yeah, just give me a second here. So let me see. Strickland's numbers are here. He's at a 5-rounder. There.
It's got to be impressive.
There.
I would imagine.
So there's
pretty
4
impressive.
of them, and it's a 673 sum. So 673 divided by 4. He lands an average of 168.25 significant strikes in 5-round fights, but all of them have went the distance. So if you take that and then you divide it by 100, that would be, it's like 1 point. Yeah, it's 100. Why did I divide it by 100? I'm high.
I think we got it though. You said around like 160 for those that have gone to the scorecards. That's impressive, man. That's crazy. Half of those are jabs, half of those are crosses, maybe sprinkling a couple of teep kicks he's been using recently too. But yeah, man, it's a good card. I can't wait for this one, man. We're finding some spots to find some money here. Might have to risk it a bit on some of these, the promise of some of these newcomers, but thank you guys all for stopping out. Make sure you guys go in the description and follow my guy Weezy on his Patreon. And Weezy, the floor is yours. What do you got going on the rest of the week? And give the people the schedule of your channel.
Yeah, I'm done for the night, man. I'm going to relax for the rest of the night here, and I'm going to give out a greasy 4-leg parlay on Friday. I've got one queued up right now on DraftKings, but we got to make sure that everybody makes weight, and I got to see, Romanov on the scales. Want to see Kutateladze on the scales. If he looks like death warmed over, I might take a little shot on Brener at plus 450 or something. But other than that, I'm going to be Pub Sports Radio every Sunday, every Saturday, every Wednesday. You can find me Just the Tip on my channel every Tuesday night, full card breakdown, 10 o'clock Central Time. Usually doing Ask Weezy right about now, but we already did a great show here, so I'm going to take the rest of the night off. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 76, Patrick. Let's cash these bets and make some money.
Let's do it, man. Thanks for coming by, Unc. It's always it's been way too long since we broke down fights on this channel, so it's always good to see you. Good banter in the chat. You guys are all awesome, and I will talk to you guys very soon with that best bets and props video out by tomorrow. Cheers.